Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. In the 7th year of being with Joshua, I finally got a wedding. His friends joked that the backup girl got her chance. It seemed like no one knew that it took Joshua 3 years to win my heart. On the day of the wedding, his mistress in a wedding dress came to snatch the marriage. Joshua was protecting me outside, but that night he went to his lover's room for the wedding night. I didn't cry or cause a scene. I quietly moved out and spent the night alone in the wedding room. On the day I put on the wedding dress again, Joshua went crazy. He put on a suit to stop the wedding, and I looked at him indifferently. Under his gaze, I put the wedding ring on my groom's finger. In the 10th year of knowing Joshua, he jokingly hugged me and said, "Linda, a girl like you is more suited to be a crush." I listened to his words and my eyes turned red. I thought he was going to break up with me. But Joshua kissed me with red eyes and a voice that was fatally charming. But my Joshua doesn't like chasing after the moon. He wants to pick the moon with his own hands. With tears in my eyes, I watched him go down on one knee, opening a box with a ring inside. The ice blue gem looked like moonlight. It was a proposal ring custom made for me by him. Looking up, Joshua couldn't hide the smile and anticipation in his eyes. "Linda, marry me." When the ice blue diamond ring was on my finger, I truly believed we would be loving each other for a lifetime. I was ready to be a wife and even thought about the names of our future children. But 3 months after the proposal, Joshua had another girl by his side who smiled like the sun. At first, when I asked him about the girl's name, he always looked impatient. Just a naive and ignorant fool who hadn't been through the hardships of society yet. The girl's name is Eileen and she lives up to her name, always smiling. Just graduated from college, she got into the company through campus recruitment, with outstanding academic qualifications and learning ability. On her first day at work, she bumped into Joshua in the elevator. Joshua, in a careless manner, deducted her a day's pay for it. She wasn't upset or discouraged, nor did she complain. At the end of the day, with a cheerful smile, she handed Joshua a handwritten letter. "I'm sorry, Eileen shouldn't have been so rude in the company, let alone bump into the boss. Thankfully, Mr. Joshua wasn't hurt. Sincerely apologize to you, Mr. Joshua. Also, Mr. Joshua always smells so nice like sunshine." Joshua brought the letter home and I opened it. I couldn't describe my feelings at that moment. Joshua looked at it inside, then tore it up and threw it into the shredder. Then he pinned me against the table and nibbled on me gently. What's wrong with Joshua? Why does he seem to suddenly forget about me? Whenever he went on business trips before, even if he was coming back the next day, he would hold me for a long time. He used to call every night to say goodnight. But now he's been gone for a week and he didn't even tell me about his trip abroad. The next day I saw Joshua in the news. Dressed in a suit and looking cold and elegant in front of the media cameras, he spoke fluently in English about the company's current development prospects. The media was even more curious about his emotional side. They heard that Joshua's wedding was approaching. Has Joshua married the person he loves the most? Joshua's eyes seemed to be full of starlight. I want what I want. He was tough in the business world and just as much in his romantic affairs. The 3 years he spent pursuing me had already been fully displayed. The media asked again, "Do you have anything you want to say to your loved one?" Joshua looked at the camera, a smile tugging at his lips. Wait for me to come home. But that night until the next evening, Joshua didn't come back. I sat in the dark living room thinking about what he said. "Joshua, how long do you want me to wait for you?" The phone rang. It was Eileen's video call. I answered and saw Eileen's smiling eyes. "Linda, Joshua asked me to tell you that he's busy tonight and won't be coming back." From the background noise and the dimly lit environment, it sounded like a bar. Since he fell in love with me, Joshua had completely bid farewell to bars during the 3 years he was pursuing me. Later, our meetings were always at high-end places. Now he was in a bar drinking heavily. How do I know? Because before she hung up the video call, Eileen accidentally showed Joshua lying on her lap. In a flash, my heart sank heavily as if falling into an ice cave. I curled up on the sofa, holding myself tightly. It's okay. Isn't there a condition called premarital syndrome? Maybe Joshua is just too tired. I'll talk to him when he comes back. Everything will be fine. The next evening, Joshua finally came back. I had just finished showering and was getting ready to rest when I heard the door opening, footsteps approaching the bed, sinking beside me, and I sank into his embrace. He held me, his slightly cool lips gently caressing my neck, his voice hoarse. I miss you so much. I want to hold you, kiss you, have you. My eyes stung, but I didn't move. After waiting for him for so long. Now that he's back, I didn't know what to say or how to start. Forget it, I'll pretend to be asleep. In matters of love, Joshua never respected my wishes. Sometimes I was too tired to keep my eyes open, and he still wanted to hold me, demanding. Sometimes I even fell asleep but would wake up amidst his movements. This time was no different. As he reached into my nightshirt, I grabbed his wrist. You're not sleeping? He asked in a low voice. I pushed his hand away. I'm really tired. My voice sounded terrible. I scared him a bit. It seemed he quickly touched my forehead, then hugged me tightly. What's wrong? Are you sick? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Why did he suddenly seem so worried about me? He didn't contact me once during the more than 10 days he was away. I wrapped myself tighter in the blanket, burying my head. I just want to sleep. Joshua was a perceptive person, and he quickly sensed something was wrong. He propped himself up and lay on me. Are you angry? He asked. Then he stroked my head under the blanket. Honey, I'm sorry. The business trip was too rushed. I didn't have time to tell you. My fault. It won't happen again. Our wedding is in 3 days. Can you not be mad? The next morning, I woke up to Joshua preparing a table full of food for me. I sat at the dining table watching him wearing an apron, moving around in the kitchen. I suddenly remembered how, back when we first started dating, Joshua was a young man who had never done any housework. But during a short bout of stomach problems I had in the hospital, he learned to cook nutritious meals in just 3 days. When I casually said it was delicious, he began to delve deeper into cooking. That's how Joshua was. Whatever he set his mind to, he did it well. In 7 years, his cooking skills had been on par with those of a 5-star chef. He was the one who cooked at home. Come to think of it, I hadn't had a meal cooked by him since he proposed. As I watched Joshua still washing vegetables, I spoke up to stop him. It's just breakfast. You've made too much. When Joshua heard my voice, he looked up to find me, and after locking eyes with me, he smiled at me saying, You've lost weight. I bet you haven't been eating properly while I was away. Let me make more to nourish you back to health. He then frowned and chided. Don't you remember you had stomach problems before? It's like you don't know how to take care of yourself when I'm not around. How can I relax? I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. Eventually, he finished preparing the final dish and sat across from me. But he used to sit beside me. He used to say he wanted to be shoulder to shoulder with me no matter what. Unconsciously, he had started to distance himself from me. Fool, the food won't taste good if it gets cold while you wait for me. I picked up my chopsticks, eating absent-mindedly. The suffocating feeling was almost driving me crazy, and I couldn't help but look at him. Joshua, are you tired of this relationship? Are you tired? Joshua put down his chopsticks, scooped some soup for me, and gently pinched my cheek. Not tired. It's just that there's a lot of company stuff to handle lately. I want to keep 2 months free after our wedding. I blinked instinctively, asking, For what? He sighed and smiled helplessly. To go on a trip to Iceland with you. You said so yourself, don't you remember? After a moment of confusion, I remembered. It was a very distant memory 8 years ago during the time he was pursuing me. We played a game of truth or dare, and I lost completely. He didn't ask me embarrassing questions but instead asked me where I'd want to go for a honeymoon. I said Iceland. It wasn't a big dream. I hadn't considered it, but when he asked, I blurted it out. I never thought that he would remember the offhand comment and keep it in mind for 8 years. Perhaps I misunderstood him and Eileen. Eileen has deliberately been trying to provoke issues between Joshua and me. I should trust Joshua, the man who has loved me for 10 years. I'm starting to look forward to our wedding. On the day of the wedding, the banquet hall was bustling with activity. As I walked in wearing my wedding dress, all eyes were on me. I had no family, so I walked down the aisle alone, heading towards Joshua, the man I was about to spend the rest of my life with. Suddenly, I heard someone in the crowd whispering, Even a backup can have its spring. Indeed, she's pretty able to hold on to Joshua. Not surprising. It was full of sarcasm. These were Joshua's former friends from his teenage years when he was wild and reckless, partying, fighting, and racing cars. He pursued me for 3 years, and when I made it clear that I didn't want messy relationships, he distanced himself from those friends, contacting them only occasionally. They believed I was holding Joshua back, hated me, and looked down on me, saying I was Joshua's backup. They spoke in hushed tones, just loud enough for me to hear. I pretended not to. Today is my most important day. They are all strangers. What they say doesn't matter. It's only Joshua and I who are important. As I walked towards Joshua, I saw tears glistening in his eyes and the redness at the corners. He held my hand tightly in his voice trembling. "Linda, you're finally marrying me." In that moment I forgot everything else, only seeing him and the love shining in his eyes that he couldn't conceal. The officiant began leading the wedding ceremony, speaking with utmost solemnity. "Do you take?" I looked at Joshua, giving him the first genuine smile in days. "I do." Joshua couldn't hide his smile, looking at me with intense warmth. Before I could finish, the door was pushed open. In walked a woman wearing a white wedding dress. It was Eileen. She lifted her skirt and ran in, staring at Joshua with intense, reddened eyes. "Joshua, you don't want this, do you?" The hall fell silent, everyone staring at her in shock, including Joshua. He held my hand tightly, his brow furrowed, looking at Eileen. Eileen flashed her signature smile like a little sun. "Joshua, I like you, you know, right? I know I'm overreaching. I don't know you like Linda does and don't have her temperament, but I love you more than Linda's sister ever could. You have no idea how much effort it took me to put on this wedding dress." She tried to smile even brighter, extending her hand towards Joshua. "Joshua, come with me, okay? I don't care about being labeled a third party. I just want to be with the person I love." She was here to stop the wedding. I stood frozen in place, feeling my blood run cold. I must look terrible without makeup, right? My hand hurt. Joshua was gripping it too hard, as if he wanted to crush my fingers. I saw the glint in his eyes but heard his cold voice. "What are security doing? Can anyone without an invitation just come in? Drag her out." Eileen's smile froze instantly. She looked at Joshua in disbelief, as if she never expected him to be so ruthless. Just like Joshua said, she was a naive fool. She was willing to be a mistress for love, but Joshua didn't want to be known as a scumbag. As a billionaire CEO, any slight scandal could affect his company's value. Even a small loss was more money than an average person would earn in a lifetime. Proud as he was, he wouldn't let himself sink to that level. Eileen clearly didn't understand him well enough, blinking back tears. "Joshua, I thought you liked me too." She thought this would make Joshua feel sorry for her. However, Joshua embraced my waist, looking at her with undisguised disgust. "Eileen, who gave you the wrong idea? I love Linda with all my heart, and I only love Linda. The only person who can be my wife is her. As for you, you're just an assistant who overstepped." As his words sank in amidst murmurs of sympathy, Eileen was dragged away by security. I could hardly breathe. It hurt so much. Joshua's demeanor was unwavering, and if he hadn't held me so tightly, I might have believed that he truly detested Eileen. Seeing my eyes turning red, Joshua became flustered. "I'm sorry, darling, for not having better security measures in place and letting her ruin our wedding. She's been taken care of. Please don't cry." After whispering to console me, he turned to the guests. "Sorry for the interruption. I hope this incident won't affect your enjoyment." Following the efficiency and professional guidance, Joshua placed the ring on my finger. I was absent-minded, and only after several gentle reminders from him did I manage to put the ring on his finger. The wedding, after a long day, came to an end. Sitting in the car, Joshua held me close to his shoulder. I wanted to pull away, but I didn't have the strength, so I let him hold me. Unknowingly, I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was lying on the wedding bed. It was empty beside me, and the darkness was as silent as death. "Joshua!" I tried calling out to him. The only thing that responded was the heavy beating of my heart. On the night of our wedding, he wasn't home. I called him on the phone, but Eileen answered instead. "Linda, why are you still up so late?" Her words made my heart skip a beat. Eileen's laughter echoed in my ears as she triumphantly said, Happy newlyweds, Linda. Just so you know, he didn't kick me out for you. Tonight he came to my place. He told me he didn't want things to escalate, kissed me, and called me his wife. I slammed the phone against the wall, leaving marks on the freshly painted walls of our new home. I stood up and tore off my wedding dress layer by layer until it was in tatters. If it didn't tear, I used my teeth to rip it apart. Seeing my disheveled reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window, I suddenly snapped out of it. What's happening to me? My hair is a mess, makeup smudged like a madwoman. I threw away the wedding dress and cried uncontrollably, then started laughing. Joshua, you always knew how to hurt me. I was so foolish. Just a few words of love from you and I bared my soul. Tonight you killed that naive girl. From now on, I won't give you a chance to hurt me again. I moved out of the house in the dead of night, not even looking back. There was nothing to see. Every detail of that house, the one I meticulously arranged, was etched in my mind. I didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want to stay in a hotel either, worried Joshua would easily find me. So I dialed a number I hadn't called in 10 years. A familiar voice answered when the call connected. Who's this? The voice sounded puzzled. I calmly replied, It's me, Linda. She was surprised. You're not dead. Yes, it must have been shocking for her. She was my mother, biologically speaking, Vivian. I'll pay you $100,000. I want to stay at your place. Vivian's tone instantly warmed up. You silly child, why talk about money at Mom's place? Come back, Mom has missed you for 10 years. The next morning, I stood in front of the old cement house. Vivian rushed over when she saw me. 10 years and you haven't changed much. Having money sure helps, she said, looking at me. She had changed a lot. When we cut ties 10 years ago, she had dark hair and a feisty demeanor. Now, with gray hair and some flattery skills, she tidied up a room for me after I transferred $100,000 into her account. As I walked around, I realized she was the only one left in this house. During dinner, I casually asked, Why are you the only one here? Vivian looked down, stuffed her mouth with food, smiled vaguely, and mumbled something. I'm lucky you came back to pay me. She sounded lighthearted, but tears fell into her bowl. Later, I found out that her husband and son had died 5 years ago. For these 5 years, she had been struggling to pay off her late husband's debts, forgetting how to smile. I looked at her wrinkled face, wanting to ask if she regretted it. Her husband was my stepfather. She had me when she was 17, the fruit of an affair with my dad. They both had only a middle school education, earning meager wages at the factory, unable to take responsibility. After giving birth to me, she left me with my elderly grandmother to raise. When Vivian refused to marry my dad, she fell for a man who always wore suits and ties. When I was 7, she became pregnant by him, left my dad, and got married. My dad despised her and, by extension, me. He once got so angry he tried to kill me with a knife. After my grandmother stopped him, he went after Vivian's lover with a knife but got hit by a truck on the way and died on the spot. My grandmother raised me with the measly compensation money. When I was 17, she got into an accident at the same spot where my dad did, but she survived. I was in college then and couldn't afford the expensive surgery. I went from house to house begging and even kneeling for help but got turned down because my family had no breadwinner. People thought lending money to us was throwing it away. Unable to get a loan as a minor, I remembered my mom, whom I hadn't seen since I was 7. I went to her house, knelt down, crying and banging my head until it bled, begging her to lend me $80,000 to save my grandmother. Vivian shooed me away with a broom. Why are you crying at my door? Get lost. Such bad luck. I hugged her legs and begged desperately. Mom, please lend me some money. I'll pay you back $100,000 in the future. Okay? Before she could respond, her husband walked over and kicked me hard on the shoulder, saying, Where did this debt collector come from? Get lost. Later, pointing at Vivian, he warned, If you dare give her a penny, see how I deal with you. After the man left, she pushed me away at the door and said, You've seen it too. Even if I want to help you, I can't. Anyway, she's already old. Just let her die. I left heartbroken. Before I walked away, she shouted, I'm not your mom. I never raised you. We have no connection from now on. At 17, I lost my mother and my grandmother. I was completely alone. Vivian's husband was beaten to death because of loan sharks. When the creditors came knocking, Vivian found out that her husband initially had some money, but later he liked to act like a big shot, throwing tens of thousands to live streamers. All that money was borrowed at high interest rates. Fortunately, the loan sharks were arrested by the police, so she didn't have to pay back the high interest loans, but she still owed money to the bank. Before Vivian could clear the debt, her husband passed away, and 6 months later, her son was diagnosed with cancer. She had no money for treatment, and just like me in the past, she went begging from door to door. But people treated her as a jinx. Instead of helping, they spoke harshly. This is retribution for how she treated her daughter in the past. People don't do unkind things. Just like your husband, his son won't turn out to be a good person. Let him die, it's self-inflicted, right? I really want to know at that moment, would she think of me, who was just as helpless as her back then? The present Vivian is no longer fierce, always trying to please others. So what if she changed her heart and love became materialistic, or didn't want to lend me money? Those aren't wrong. What really chilled me is that she was afraid I'd ask her for money again, and at my most vulnerable moment she cut ties with me. Even though I live here, I have nothing to say to Vivian. She's always cautious, so I just ignore her. My stay here is temporary. Once I secure a job, I'll leave. I'm a professional jewelry appraiser, and I have a talent for it. I've never made a mistake in my appraisals. I've been in this line of work ever since I started dating Joshua, but I quit temporarily half a year ago to prepare for our wedding. However, going back to that job, being close to Joshua, I don't want that anymore. I want something new. After 2 weeks of waiting for a new job notice, a big man barged in before one arrived. Bursting in through the door, he looked fierce and held a knife up high. Run! I stood frozen, and then Vivian rushed out of the kitchen. Warm blood splattered on my face. It was the first time I witnessed such a scene, and my legs felt like they were nailed to the ground. The following scenes were chaotic. I saw him cut Vivian a few times. Then someone rushed in from the door and stopped the attacker. Moments later, I was pulled into warm arms. Joshua's voice was trembling. I was so scared. Thank goodness you're okay. How did he get here? But that's not what's on my mind right now. I pushed him away and stumbled over to Vivian. She was lying on the ground, a pool of blood beside her. Staring at me from head to toe with her eyes, she smiled. It's okay, everything's fine. Vivian was taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. Joshua accompanied me to the police station. Unexpectedly, we ran into Eileen at the police station's entrance. As soon as she saw Joshua, she rushed over to him.
Joshua, I'm scared.
Joshua avoided her, his face expressionless. What are you doing here? Eileen's eyes teared up when she saw me in Joshua's arms. She cast a silent glare. She thought Joshua didn't let her embrace him because I was with him. The police wanted to speak with me. Later, I found out that the man with the knife was Eileen's father. Her father used to be a loan shark. 5 years ago, he accidentally killed Vivian's husband along with a group of people, and was sued by Vivian. He was sentenced to 8 years but got an early release for good behavior. The moment he was released, he wanted to kill Vivian, whom he had resented for 5 years. If Joshua hadn't arrived, not only would Vivian have died, but I would have too. Eileen's father, a murderer connected to loan sharking, caused Joshua to darken his tone completely. Due to his position in a large corporation, Joshua undergoes political examination upon entry. However, Eileen's parents had a small divorce, and she was listed under her mother. Her father's criminal past did not affect her, but she was still the daughter of a murderer, something that bothered Joshua. Eileen didn't care and even tried to cling on to Joshua. He just got injured, didn't die. Just pay for the damages, right? Joshua, can't I? Joshua didn't look at her, looked down and asked me, "What do you want to do?" I bit my lip and looked at the police, saying, "Handle it however you see fit." Eileen's father was taken into custody. We left the police station with Eileen following Joshua like a lost puppy. "Why are you ignoring me? Do you not want me anymore?" I pushed Joshua's hand away. "Go console your girlfriend. I'm going to the hospital." Even if we lack a mother-daughter bond, the fact that she rushed in front of me means I should go see her. Joshua, instead, pulled me into the car and drove me there personally. Eileen was left wailing on the roadside. Joshua gripped the steering wheel and suddenly said, "Stop being angry. Come back, okay? The incident just now was so dangerous. I almost lost you. I thought I was being unreasonable." I looked out the window without expression. It wasn't almost, Joshua. You did lose me. A sudden break, and the next moment, Joshua unbuckled his seatbelt and hugged me tightly. Nonsense. He gritted his teeth. Linda, you're talking nonsense. We just got married. Everyone knows you're my wife. Where else do you want to go? I frowned. Joshua, you can't stop randomly on a highway. Don't you have any sense of driving regulations? But he just stared at me. Linda, say it. Don't leave me, okay? I finally felt my face turning cold. The wedding was done, but we didn't get the marriage certificate, right? Joshua seemed to just realize that. He froze. I chuckled lightly and said, "What's wrong? Joshua, did you forget something? Where were you on the day we agreed to register our marriage?" On that day, Joshua and Eileen flew abroad. He didn't answer my calls or texts. He even forgot the day we agreed to get the certificate. At first, I believed he was just busy and forgot. I thought he would find me when he had time. The first step of being a failed woman is waiting for a man to reply. Luckily, I'm not waiting anymore. Joshua seemed to feel guilty, didn't say anything else, and started the car again, heading to the hospital. It was only when we got out of the car that I heard his tense voice. "I'm sorry." In the hospital room, Vivian had already woken up. She had been stabbed 3 times in the back and was sleeping on her stomach. The wounds were deep, but the doctor said they weren't life-threatening. Vivian struggled to lift her head to look at me. Her eyes red, her gray hair made her look so pitiful. Pitiful, huh? Both she and I are pitiful people. I tucked the blanket in for her, then turned and left. She grabbed my wrist as I was leaving. "Linda, will you come to see me again?" Her eyes and tone were full of expectations. I kept my fingertips stiff, hesitated for a moment, then pulled my hand out of her grip. "No, Vivian, 10 years ago you said we were done." I left without looking back, and before the door was closed I could hear her crying. It started quietly, then turned into loud sobs. She regretted it, didn't she? But isn't it too late now? Damn it, why are my eyes getting teary too? As I left the ward, I knew Joshua was waiting for me at the main entrance, so I walked around and left through a side door. Linda and Joshua, both people who have hurt me. I didn't want to see them again. The side exit led to an alley. I turned left and right, and just as I stepped out of the alley, a speeding bicycle almost crashed into me. The front of the bike swerved, it fell, and the cyclist fell heavily to the ground. "Watch where you're going." The young man on the bike was furious. I hurried to help him up. When his eyes fell on me, they lit up. He suddenly calmed down from his previous anger. "No, it's my fault. I almost hit you, right?" I helped him up in silence. As he stood up with my help, he didn't let go of my hand. "It hurts so much, sis. I might be injured." I bent down to check. Indeed, his baggy pants had a hole, and I could see a trickle of blood on his knee. The young man seized the opportunity. "Can you take me home?" Pointed back. "The hospital is just down this alley. I have some medicine at home. A small injury, just needs some ointment." He insisted on not going to the hospital, so I had to pick up my phone. "Address." His eyes sparkled as he cheerfully reported his residential address. When I heard the address, I paused for a moment. It was a talk-to-your residential area with more background than the wealthy district. Residents there are usually affluent and influential. I rode my bike. He sat on the back, holding onto my waist, chattering away. He introduced himself as Gary, in his early 20s, a mix of Chinese and foreign descent, raised abroad and back in the country for university studies. He added, "I'm a PhD student now." I had landed myself in trouble with this guy. Arriving at his home, it was a 1-unit per floor design. I helped him inside, and when we reached the door, I let go and was about to leave, but he held onto my skirt. "Can you stay for a bit? I feel a bit uncomfortable." Today's young people have all sorts of ways to strike up a conversation. I didn't want to engage with him at first, but I noticed his flushed face. I suddenly remembered that when I helped him up, his wrist was already warm. I reached out to touch it, and sure enough, he had a fever. I brought him inside. Fortunately, they had a first aid kit at home. I tended to his wound, applied a fever patch, and then I felt tired, so I sat down on the floor. He was drifting in and out of consciousness, and I thought of waiting for his fever to subside before leaving, but after an hour, instead of improving, his temperature seemed to rise. Worried, I called for an ambulance. At the hospital in the ward, the doctor started him on a drip, his brow furrowed deeply. Fortunately, he was brought in just in time. If the fever had continued, who knows what could have happened. That was indeed serious. He's a young PhD student going crazy from the fever. After the doctor left, I glanced at the drip. There was still a lot left. As I got ready to go to the restroom, I was pulled back and pressed against the wall. Joshua grabbed my waist, glancing at the man lying in the bed in the ward. He frowned harshly. Linda, who is he? Just like before, he was still jealous. Every time he saw me with another man, he would turn green. He used to be my boyfriend, but not anymore. Who are you now? I looked at him sternly. Do you have anything to do with this? Joshua, I'm not your wife. We're not registered, and the person you spent the wedding night with wasn't me. Lastly, I can take care of whoever I want, but I won't take care of you anymore. Joshua's eyelashes trembled as if the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. His voice was barely audible. You know, don't you? Your girlfriend couldn't wait for the whole world to know you chose her. How could I not know? Joshua, did you hope I would never find out so you could stay in the marital home, faithful to you, right? It's not like that. Listen to me, I only love you. Can you believe me? Joshua panicked. I chuckled. Believe? Joshua, do you have anything left for me to believe in? Suddenly, something came to mind. Slowly, deliberately, I said, she, apart from being pretty, has nothing else. She's too clingy, can't live without me, would die without me. I wouldn't even mind losing her. She's cold and boring all the time. Always so self-righteous, it tires me out. Joshua abruptly covered my mouth. Stop. His face was pale. Linda, stop. What's wrong? Can't you handle the words you yourself spoke? I pushed his hand away. I will say it. Amazed that I heard it right, I continued, Joshua? The night you came back from abroad, Aileen called me. After ending the video call, she left me a voicemail. So I heard how Joshua, drunk, was talking about me in front of Aileen and his gang. Because of his words, his friends always considered me his backup. I looked at Joshua's tense lips, raised my hand to gently touch his cheek. Joshua, why? Did you think you could pluck the moon and then complain it's cold and lonely? Before taking it down, didn't you know how solitary it was? The hospital door suddenly swung open. Gary walked out, holding the force stand, and pushed Joshua aside. Get lost. Joshua was caught off guard and stumbled. I couldn't even react before seeing him approaching me. The young man was tall. When he leaned in, he enveloped me in shadows once again. His soft lips pressed against mine, my mind roaring. The kiss was gentle, not invasive, just a brush, brief and delicate. Bastard! Joshua roared, grabbing the back of his shirt and landing a punch on his face. Why, not one to back down, retaliated with a punch. Soon they were wrestling. Enough. I tried to pull them apart but failed. It was not until medical staff arrived to separate them that they stopped. They both had bruises on their faces, worse for wear. After the wounds were tended to, the two men glared at each other in the hospital room, neither backing down. Touch my wife and you're as good as dead, Gary sneered. But I heard you two weren't even legally married, so how can she be your wife? He then winked at me, raising his eyebrows suggestively. I'm young, handsome, rich, and I don't cheat. Shut up. Joshua wanted to lunge again, but I grabbed him. He looked at me in disbelief. Linda, are you siding with him? This has nothing to do with me. Go away. He didn't move. I repeated, Joshua, I don't want you anymore. In an instant, Joshua's straight posture bent, looking fragile as if about to shatter. Is this all there is left? I didn't reply. Why? Later, Joshua left, his silhouette lonely and desolate. Gary, on the other hand, had a smirk on his face. Why are you smiling? I don't want you either, I said coldly. His smile vanished instantly. Why? Give it a try. I'm not after money or emotions. I just want your care, not to be taken advantage of. I took a couple of steps back, keeping my distance. I don't trust you. Not to the point of distrusting love entirely. It's just not easy to trust anymore. especially when it comes to a 20-year-old. If I think about it carefully, I was also 20 when I started dating Joshua. At 20, Joshua, like Gary, had a sparkling pair of eyes, sweet words, and promises of loving me forever. But 7 years later, he still changed, right? A man's words, big or small, are just not trustworthy. Obviously not willing to give up, Gary seemed fine now as I turned and left. It was a day full of troubles, but there was one good thing. At night, I received a job offer. I could start a new journey the next day. On my first day at the job, using my experienced eye, I appraised several pieces of jade worth millions in a row. My colleagues were all in awe. But their gossip was not about my work skills but about my marriage. The day of the wedding had media reporters present. Almost the entire country knew about that grand wedding where someone wore a wedding dress to interrupt, and the groom unwaveringly chose his bride. Colleagues looked at my bare fingers. Why no wedding ring? To be honest, it was annoying. I just wanted to dive into my new life, but everything around me kept tying me to Joshua. I couldn't shake him off. A week later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Joshua's friend, the one who had cursed me. "Linda, what else are you unhappy with Joshua about? He spent 10 years on you and you just walk away? What do you take Joshua for?" They berated me for not being good enough for Joshua, yet also criticized me for leaving him. His 10 years, am I not a part of that? Where did he lose out? Without me, he'd still be a big CEO with plenty of women wanting to be with him, and future women like Eileen wouldn't be in short supply. Why waste time on a boring woman like me? Instead of questioning me, they should take care of Joshua. Let him play around, but don't mess up his personal life. Truly sick. No one can cure. After saying this, they promptly blocked me. Perhaps he relayed my words to Joshua. A few days later, news broke out about Eileen being detained for investigation. The charge was financial crime and leaking company secrets. Is it true? Definitely not. In the 7 years I've been with Joshua, I have never taken any company secrets, let alone Eileen, his personal assistant. So this must be Joshua's doing. How ruthless of him to frame a woman he once loved. But considering my own experiences, it's not surprising. Joshua is just a heartless scumbag. That night, just as I got off work, this scumbag found me. Drunken and staggering, he pinned me to the wall and tried to kiss me hard. "Darling, don't leave. Come back." How dare he kiss me with the same lips that touched someone else? "Joshua, let me go. Don't make me hate you." I pushed him away, but the drunken Joshua became even more unreasonable. He didn't care that we were in public and shamelessly tried to put his hand inside my clothes. I shouted in fear, "Get away, Joshua! Get away!" Suddenly, a dull thud was heard as Joshua tumbled to the ground. Grace stood behind him, shaking a baseball bat in his hand. "Playing tough guy? I'll teach you a lesson." When he saw me, he paused for a moment, then dropped the bat in a panic and came over to me. "Are you okay?" I shook my head in bewilderment, tears streaming down my face. What would have happened if Vivian hadn't shown up? I dared not think about it. Gary angrily kicked Joshua on the ground and then, without a word, took my hand. "I'll walk you home." Seeing I didn't move, he softened his voice. "Don't be afraid. I won't harm you." Gary escorted me to the building entrance, then left, looking back multiple times, saying goodbye over and over. I could tell he liked me. The light in the eyes of a young man shone brighter than Joshua, 20 years younger, but I couldn't reciprocate. I had just been hurt in a relationship and couldn't offer him the love he deserved. I continued to focus on my work, my life, self-healing. When Vivian recovered and was discharged, I didn't go see her. I arranged for her to be sent to a nursing home. It's better that way. Although she's only in her 50s, being stabbed in the shoulder 3 times, while not life-threatening, still affects her mobility. Sending her back to the countryside, she might end up dying without anyone to claim her body. It's better to send her to a nursing home. They provide burial services. I don't need to see her again, no matter how long she lives. On my birthday, Gary came to where I work to find May. He looked at him in surprise. "What's up?" "I'm here to celebrate your birthday." He was dressed in a sweatshirt and black pants, looking neat and sincere. I was amazed. "How did you know it's my birthday?" He was equally surprised. "Today is your birthday too?" Later, I found out Gary and I share the same birthday. He came to celebrate with me as he didn't want to spend his birthday alone. I didn't mind. Don't you have any friends? No, everyone in my PhD class is in their 30s, and I can hardly relate to them in personal life. We can talk about studies but not about life. It dawned on me that he's a genius. Geniuses are always lonely. I suggested, how about a bar? At your age, most guys like hanging out at bars, right? Surprisingly, Gary replied seriously, I've never been to one, and I won't go in the future. I can't hold my liquor. It wasn't what I expected. Gary seemed cool and edgy, giving off a playful vibe. I didn't expect him to be a good boy. Anyway, I accepted his invitation to celebrate our birthdays together. I was alone, it was nice to have company. We headed to the cake shop to pick out a cake. As we approached the shop, I saw a familiar figure at the door. I hesitated for a moment and suddenly didn't want to go in. But in just that moment of pause, a car came speeding towards me. Watch out! The wind howled in Gary's voice, filling the air. As I fell, I saw the person at the cake shop rush towards us. I fell into Joshua's arms, and Gary landed in a pool of blood. The driver was Eileen. She was charged with financial crimes and was about to go to jail. According to her statement, she blamed everything on me. Like father, like daughter. Her father killed without reason, and she inherited that gene. Eileen looked at Joshua behind me and cried out, Joshua, do you hate me? Do you despise me this much? Joshua's face turned cold. Eileen, steer clear of me for the rest of your life. As we left the police station, Joshua insisted on going to the hospital. I didn't have the energy to argue with him. Gary was still in the operating room. We only saw nurses going in and out. He must be in great pain. He shouldn't have to go through this. If only I hadn't agreed to celebrate our birthdays together. My eyes welled up and suddenly Joshua pulled me into his arms. Linda, are you touched? I can be like that too. I can lay down my life for you. Joshua, that's enough. I found some strength from somewhere and slapped him hard. What are you doing? Do you know what just happened? At a time like this, all you can think about is love. Joshua, I've had enough of you, Joshua. Red-eyed, he remained silent. After the doctor came out, Gary was moved to the ICU. The surgery was successful, but he needed to be kept under observation in the ICU. He hadn't woken up in 2 days, and the risk of him being a vegetable had to be considered. My ears were buzzing, not sure how it had come to this. Only one person could accompany me in the ICU. I didn't even look at Joshua when I was alone. When Joshua left, a tear hung in the corner of his eye. For 2 whole days, Gary showed no signs of waking up. I was so scared, holding onto his arm, unable to stop my tears. Gary, please wake up, okay? He clearly had a bright future ahead. He shouldn't have ended up like this because of me. I couldn't stop crying out loud. No solution in sight. If you promise to marry me, I will wake up. A voice suddenly sounded. Without thinking, I nodded. All right, I promise you wake up. He opened his eyes. Only then did I realize I had been tricked. Raising his hand, not sure where to hit, he could only pound the bed. Gary, you. His lips were cracked, but he smiled at me. Gotcha, didn't I? I don't care. You promised me. You have to marry me. 2 months later, Gary fully recovered and left the hospital. Half a month later, he and I walked down the aisle. I wore a black wedding dress that I had always liked. When I was getting my wedding dress tailored with Joshua, I actually liked black too, but Joshua cared more about the public's opinion, so we ended up choosing white. But with Gary, I could wear whatever I wanted. The guests were packed downstairs. I walked the red carpet alone, but there were no annoying voices in my ears anymore. Just cries of amazement and praises. This was the atmosphere a wedding should have. Gary held my hand and kissed the back of my hand, his eyes smiling. When asked if we were willing to share all joys and sorrows, the wheels of fate turned. The door was pushed open again. This time it wasn't Eileen. It was Joshua. He was wearing a white suit that stood out. Linda, don't say yes to him. Come with me. He reached out his hand towards me. Gary's face immediately turned cold. What's going on? How can someone come in without an invitation? Bad luck. I raised my hand to pat his shoulder to calm him down. Then I looked at Joshua. You should go back, my husband is upset. Gary's anger subsided instantly with just that husband reference. He grabbed my hand a bit pitifully, not angry. I just don't want to see him on this day. Let's just pretend we didn't see him. I turned with him and faced each other affectionately, saying, I do. At the moment we put rings on each other's fingers, I caught a glimpse of Joshua with heavy, drooping shoulders. Joshua, seeing the one you love embrace another, must be very painful, right? Where can the me from the past be any better than you? During the part where the groom kisses the bride, Vivian lifted my veil, leaned in, and before I could react, kissed my lips. He smiled down at me with his eyes and said, Thank you, I'm happy, even if it's fake. Happily ever after. After the wedding, as guests were yet to disperse, investigators from the prosecutor's office came. They were there to take Joshua to understand the situation. Yes, I reported him about the false accusations he made against Eileen. As for where my evidence came from, I had a friend among the employees at Joshua's company who sent me the pictures of Eileen and Joshua in the elevator. Joshua was taken away, and as he looked at me one last time, maybe he also knew what consequences one faces for fabricating charges or financial crimes. Maybe he wouldn't see me again in his lifetime. He suddenly stopped, looked deeply into my eyes and said, Linda, what should I do? You've become my crush for real. After Joshua left, Gary held my hand, looking very disdainful. Who cares about him, right? Then together we distributed a cash gift to the remaining guests. Yes, all the guests were invited, $1,000 per person. Gary insisted on marrying me no matter what. That day in the hospital room, when I reluctantly agreed to marry him, he raised his hand to rub my head. I was just kidding. How could I force you? Reciprocating narrow kindness is not something I would do. If you don't want to marry me, that's fine. Can you give me a wedding though? Both you and him, so we had this wedding. After the guests left, the vast hall was left with just the two of us. Gary looked at me seriously. I was puzzled. What are you looking at? At you, he said. I laughed. Is that how you look at someone? He nodded vigorously. Yes, I want to remember you seriously because I'm going to put you back into the sky. Linda, the moon is just the moon. It doesn't belong to anyone. Linda, you can forever hang high in the sky. Always cool and distant. I love the moon. I won't take it down. I'll chase after the moon.